Hello and welcome to another episode of Your State with me, State Representative Christopher Davis. I'm joined here today by Michael Meotti, the Executive Vice President of the Board of Regents for Higher Education here in the state of Connecticut. Kind of a new Board of Regents here. I guess we'll start with just kind of discussing what exactly the Board of Regents does and how it relates to higher education here in the state.
Yeah. Well, Connecticut used to have a system in which we had a separate system office and governing board for the community college system. We've got 12 community colleges, as Nantucket Community College, Manchester Community College near your district, and 10 others around the state. We had another system office and governing board for the Connecticut State Universities, Eastern, Southern, Western, and Central. And then we also had a board for Charter Oak State College, which is purely an online learning institution. And as a part of an effort to understand, to relate to the fact that increasingly students are moving across all these institutions to complete their educational programs, the legislature, the governor sort of came together on a plan to consolidate governance into one board and one system office. It was really done for more substantive educational success reasons, but we've also been able to save significant amounts of money just by administrative efficiencies.
Great. And one of the reasons why I wanted to have you come on here today is kind of talk about the relationship between the community colleges and the state universities and the economy and our workforce here in the state of Connecticut. And one of the great things that we've been able to develop here, especially right as Nantucket Community College in Enfield, is the manufacturing center. And I was wondering if you can kind of expand upon our great training programs that we have available through our community colleges here in the state.
Yeah. I think the biggest challenge we face as a state and a nation is recognizing that the economic driver, what's going to give us growth, prosperity, better incomes, is we now know all over the world it's the educational level of the state's population. And Connecticut has been a leader, in fact, for centuries in having a highly educated population. For a big part of the 20th century, a high school diploma was enough to put you, like I look at my parents' generations, Irish and Italian immigrants coming to Connecticut themselves or their grandparents, graduating from a high school, going on to work in a number of the manufacturing companies in central Connecticut, going on to own a home, send their children to college, buy maybe a place at the shore or a lake if they're lucky enough to do that, all off of an educational background of a high school, maybe a little what they used to call trade school,
sure,
that sort of thing. We now know in the 21st century that world doesn't exist anymore. To have a good earnings potential, to have a career, you need something past high school. Again, the old world, that would have just been, go get a college degree. In the 1950s, 60s, 70s, there was still a small enough number of people getting a four-year college degree that if you got it in almost anything, you could turn that to your success. It's still good to do that, but what we're finding more and more is what you study, what skills and knowledge and abilities you acquire in post-secondary education will have a lot to do with your career trajectory, and that's why the manufacturing programs are really a critical part of that, recognizing the changing economy that may be bringing manufacturing jobs back to Connecticut.
Now, what are some of the options available for doing these training programs at the community colleges here in the state?
Well, for many years, about 15 years or so, as Nantucket Community College was the pioneer, was the first, they built an extraordinarily successful program, completes hundreds of students a year, in about a 10 to 12 month program that gives you some college credits. You can do that program, go right to work in jobs paying $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 a year. And you come in with a high school diploma. Many of the people that historically, many of the people at Nantucket have been in their 30s, 40s, even 50s in that program. But some people, you can move on over time. Say you go to work and you decide, I want to move up the career opportunities where I work. You could go back to Nantucket or another community college, get an associate's degree in engineering technology. You could continue working and then decide to go back to Central to get a Bachelor of Science in engineering. I recently met a young man in the area who had done exactly that over the last 6-7 years. Coming out of his Nantucket, is now pursuing a master's degree in engineering while working in a very great job in Pratt & Whitney doing quality control. So there's a wide range of opportunities that start out with these core programs that in 10 months or so we prepare you to go into what's called a CNC machining environment. It's basically, it's saying that you're in a manufacturing environment that everything that happens on that shop floor is driven in a sense by computers. Computer numerical controls, what CNC is. And you need a much higher skill set than, I think of my uncles who came and worked for Stanley and the Britain Machine and all the rest. They came with skills, but it wasn't in how to run a complex grinding machine with computer controls, all that kind of stuff. These days you can't get those good jobs with the skill sets that the high school graduates in 1940, 1950, 50 had. So it starts there, but the great thing about these programs is it creates an opportunity to move up the ladder if that's what you want to do as an individual.
And I know from going on business tours myself in my own district and visiting manufacturers, just doing one today, in fact, a business tour this morning, that they really see this as an opportunity to kind of transition people from the training programs directly into jobs, internship available through as Nuntuck's program to be kind of placed in these manufacturers right in this area and maybe kind of have their career grow from there. It's important to note that that's an opportunity for students at these manufacturing centers.
Right. The key to success at Nuntuck, and which the folks at Nuntuck, Frank Gallooni, the program director, Martha McLeod, the campus president, will tell you is they have built the program from the ground up in close partnership with the manufacturers who will employ the students. I think virtually all the students have actual relationships and internship opportunities with manufacturers while they're going through the program. We are expanding the program to 3 new community colleges, literally starting right now, and we have really said to everyone at these new campuses that as Nuntuck has a model that's worked. We tried a number of years ago, the community college system tried a number of years ago to expand the Nuntuck model to another campus. It didn't work. And I think that the secret success, the magic sauce that is Nuntuck, is this really deep partnership with employers.
Yeah, so it's important to note that a lot of students coming out of college today are kind of left out there without finding a job. But this is a specific program where people are finding jobs right away, going into a field that hopefully is only growing here in the state of Connecticut and for years to come as we start seeing hopefully manufacturing return to our state and our country. And I think it's a great opportunity for our viewers here today to take note that as Nuntuck right up the road in Enfield is a great opportunity for them. And you mentioned that sometimes they can take what they learned there and kind of transition to some of the other state universities. How does that transition kind of work? The credits just go right into the state university, or is it something where they have to retake those courses when they get up to Central or Eastern?
Well, they didn't used to move that smoothly, and we're in the middle of a process to sort of make this much more rational and here's what I'd say, from the perspective of the student, and we're seeing this now. We've actually looked at numbers from, say, you go back to the class of 2004, from all Connecticut public high school grads. Of those who went to a CSU campus, 40% also earned credits in a community college somewhere in the state. So we see this tremendous amount of, in a sense, the students saying, we want this flexibility, we want this adaptability. And the problem in the past has been, it's been mostly institution, so college to college. So I might go to this community college and Eastern will take these credits, but not Central. And we're saying, look, we think it's appropriate. This is public higher education. Connecticut students, Connecticut taxpayers have a right to demand that we have this make sense from the point of view and have it be a more sort of successful pathway for students. And that also means not just that if I take, say, I take a Business 101 at a community college and I go into a business program at a CSU campus, I don't want my Business 101 course counting as an elective and me having to take another Business 101 course. That sometimes was the problem, was people would say, yes, the credits transferred, but they didn't transfer within the major program, within the discipline that the student was studying. So they had to take courses over again, and they didn't get to take electives because they were burned up by what they had thought was the start on their business program, a nursing program, or whatever else.
And that's excellent to hear, because many students, especially in this economy, kind of choose to go to the community colleges first to save money oftentimes, and then that gives them a nice transition into what they ultimately wanted to do, which was a bachelor's program or something further. So it's excellent to hear that the state has recognized that as a need and is moving in that direction. And it's same, it can be said with the University of Connecticut, or is that still something that's ongoing, trying to transition those credits from the community colleges to say UConn, which is outside of the community or the Connecticut State University system?
Yeah, absolutely. We're doing it with UConn, which there's a much smaller number of students probably that would be a pathway that would be relevant or work. And one of the challenges, and one of the things we said frequently to people is actually, UConn and the community colleges had done more work and were more successful at this transfer pathway in the past few years than CSU's and the community colleges had been. So we said, wait a minute, that's good, that's great, and let's keep improving that. But most of those students are coming to CSU campuses, so that's really where we need to do it. But yeah, you really want, in a system, in an educational system in the state, you want to create a pathway that, while maintaining strong programs, because again, you want to really know about manufacturing or nursing or whatever, so when you get out, or be really well skilled in a liberal arts major or something like that. But at the same time, students are far more mobile. This is a national phenomenon. In the old days, it might have been, you went to one college, you either finished or you dropped out, and that was it for your college career. These days, vast majority of Americans who go to college will go to more than one before they get their degree.
And I think it's important to note, too, that you guys are kind of looking at it at a K through post-secondary school ideas, and that a lot of times students, I know I took advantage of it when I was in high school, can take courses in high school, have them converted to credits at one of the community colleges, and have that then go on to our state university system, or perhaps UConn as well. You want to talk about some of those opportunities that are available to students here in the state, that sometimes you can actually take courses in high school and have them carry on into college?
Yeah. No, it is absolutely essential that we recognize that if we're in a world where people need something beyond high school, then those of us in higher education and those of us in K-12, we have to change the way we relate to others, so it's not just kind of like happenstance that some of your students get out of your high school and someday come to my college. And we have to behave in some ways more like, I have a 9th grader and a 12th grader at home who've gone through over the last 5 years in 2 different steps this transition from elementary to middle to senior high school. And fortunately, in a public school district that spends a lot of time figuring out how to get the elementary school, that middle school, and the high school to have it work all together. We're trying to do the same thing, so that there is a strong alignment between the local high schools that feed large numbers of students into a community college or a CSU campus, and so that not only, there's sort of 2 ends to this. One is, a lot of students come not ready for college math or English. They need remedial courses. So waste everybody's time and money. So we're trying to align the pathways better so they come ready for college work when they get to college. But a lot of Connecticut residents are capable of taking college level work in high school. It can be AP courses. UConn has a program for doing that. We have a number of community colleges that have partnerships with high schools doing the exact same thing. We even have some community colleges like Manchester with Great Path Academy actually has a school on their campus that really number one purpose should be to do exactly what you're talking about.
Excellent. And that's an important thing to note, that even when they're in high school, they have opportunities to kind of get themselves ready for college early on and not have to be kind of fronted with remedial courses as soon as they hit, because unfortunately we're seeing more and more students needing those remedial courses here in our state university system and in our community colleges. Kind of puts everybody behind the ball, and they're paying for courses that don't necessarily go towards their degrees, and it's unfortunate, but I'd like to see the seamless activity of K through 12 with our state university system. I think it's an excellent pathway for the future. And kind of touching on what you mentioned a little bit before, was people who perhaps maybe were laid off or are looking to change careers in this ever-changing economy that we're faced with here in the state of Connecticut. How easy is it for them to kind of just come back, maybe just take a few courses if they wanted to at one of our community colleges or at CSU school, or maybe actually just come back and get an associate's in something else? How easy is that transition for people perhaps in their 30s or 40s or 50s?
I would say from the person's point of view, a step like this is never easy, because once it's not quite like riding a bike, no. Kind of thing. But what I will say is that it's not as hard as many people think it is. In education, public policy, we call these older students, this is returning adults. That's the kind of label we use them. The Connecticut State University campuses and the community colleges in Connecticut are overwhelmingly the provider of educational opportunities for returning adults. The vast majority of people over the age of 25 who are in higher education are in our institutions. In our community colleges, I think it's about 40 to 45% of the students are over the age of 25. So if you're coming to a community college, you're not going to walk into a campus where everybody's 18 but me. That's not the reality. And even at the CSUs, which are more higher percentage of 18 to 24-year-olds, there's still significant numbers of students who are there who are older, and in both institutions, significant number of students who are studying part-time. So it's completely a normal part of the campus environment to come in and take a couple of courses and get a sense of whether or not you really want to do this. But then I would say to anyone who decides they want to do this is, students are much more likely to be successful if they decide this is what I want to do, is then really dedicate themselves to completing a program, maybe a certificate program at a community college, as quickly as possible, and not try to do this 6 credits a year for 20 years.
Yeah, it could be a long time for sure.
Yeah.
And something you had mentioned very early on in our conversation, and important to note for those who perhaps are afraid of re-entering into a classroom situation after being out of it for a long time, but that they find that they're on difficult times and they want to get a new certification or a new degree. We have a great opportunity here in the state of Connecticut with the Charter Oak College Online, and I was just wondering if you kind of expand upon what opportunities are available for online education at the higher education level here in the state of Connecticut.
Connecticut was one of the early states to get into this. We have the Charter Oak State College, which is a completely distance learning institution. It offers a bachelor's degrees. You really don't go to Charter Oak as a brand new college student with 0 college credits. Virtually all the Charter Oak students are people who are sort of coming back to college, had accumulated, some cases, 30, 60, 90. Some people, sometimes they're literally just like a semester short of completing a baccalaureate degree. And so even before it was a distance learning web, sort of education provider, what was done at Charter Oak was called, in our world, sort of credit aggregation and recognition of life experience. So the first thing that usually happens is we look at what you've done in college anywhere. We look at the field, or they look at, Charter Oak looks at the field that you're involved in. It is possible that you can accumulate additional credits. Let's say you've been doing financially related work in a business setting, and you did take some accounting courses, okay? You may, through your work, have learned enough that you know everything that we in the academic world will call accounting 101, 102, 103, whatever, but you only took 101 20 years ago. There's ways of assessing that and, in a sense, awarding you the credits for what you know for 101, 102, 103, okay? And then saying, what you got missing here is 18 or 24 credits to get a baccalaureate in business. And we can offer those online. You could do these online. You could pick up a course or two at Central or Southern or conceivably Community College, piece it together, and you finish your college degree in a much shorter period of time than maybe if you just walked into an environment that wasn't as adaptive or flexible to your needs.
And kind of on that note, where people are working still and they're looking to expand on it, what are there opportunities available through some of our state colleges or universities or community college for evening classes or weekend classes, so they can come back and kind of get the degrees that will hopefully either move them forward in their career or maybe help them start a new career when they were laid off?
There's significant numbers of employed students. And I don't mean just the 19, 20-year-old student who has a part-time job to help. I'm talking about people who are in their 30s, in their 40s, have children at home or something like that, and they're returning. And yes, I mean, there's the community colleges. Most of the community colleges are operating in almost like a 6-7 day a week, 18 hours a day model. That you go to many campuses. The busiest time is 7, 8 o'clock at night. At the community colleges. One of the issues we have at some of our campuses is if students don't have a car, is the difficulty of getting to a campus if there isn't good transit service locally. And so particularly in meeting the needs of these students, we're willing to do whatever it takes. Sometimes it's childcare, sometimes it's additional transit services, which Naugatuck Valley Community College launched in a partnership with the city of Waterbury, other employers in Waterbury, the existing bus company, bus services in Waterbury. They operated some new shuttle, and in order to get people, exactly the students you're talking about, to get them to campus, say from 5 to 9 o'clock at night.
And so you're seeing an increase in enrollment in some of these programs, or people returning to take courses perhaps after they already are working full-time, or they're only working part-time now because of situations of less work being available to them. And so it's an opportunity for these kinds of people to be re-engaged into the educational process here in the state of Connecticut.
Yeah, yeah, we see that. What we've seen in the community colleges now is that since the economic downturn really hit home in 2008, which now is 4 years later, it's a long period of time, and traditionally when unemployment goes up, most people think, well, it'd be harder to afford to go to college, so college enrollment must go down. Actually, particularly community colleges, when the economy goes down, college enrollment goes up because people are looking to improve their employability and ability to get a job. So we saw that going on, and we wondered as things continued, would that sort of start to turn? Because the other thing that's going on in the state, and in many states, not all states, but the number of 18-year-olds coming out of our high schools is now in a downturn. The last 15 years, the high school age population in the state of Connecticut kept going up, 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 up. So that creates new students, traditionally aged students, for colleges every year. But as we know, those of us who've watched this over the last 30 years or so know the worm turns. Okay, we now know that the number of students graduating from high school in Connecticut is in the decline. Will be in the decline for the indefinite future, even if we increase graduation rates, because it's just the baby boom
number
bust.
of people.
It's just those demographic
Sure.
cycles. Okay, but while that's going on, we have seen increasing enrollment in community colleges. We don't really know, because many people come to the community college at the very last minute to enroll. It's not like everyone thinks, well, I applied and I got in April, and people are signing up in August and even in right now for community college programs. So we won't have the final numbers for a couple of weeks. It looks like enrollment is up once again. Enrollment is increasing in exactly the areas you're talking about. Demand for enrollment is increasing in occupational programs, more of an increase in part-time, which again is people trying to juggle the employment but the education to improve employability. So yeah, I think we've entered into a new environment that's going to be this way for the indefinite future.
And along that track, I mean, it's important, and you mentioned this earlier, that we have businesses within the state that are looking to employ these people that are going back to school or that are coming out of these colleges or community colleges with degrees. What is the partnership between the Board of Regents and your mission, and what businesses are making available here in the state of Connecticut as far as jobs go?
Yeah. Well, one of the things we've tried to do is really strongly partner up with businesses at the system level. What we're trying to do is talk to business groups and big businesses who can help give us a general sense of direction as to where things are going. Like any organization, the real action happens at the front line. The front line's on our campuses, and so therefore we think it's important that each campus has its own set of relationships with the employers and businesses in its backyard or region. And again, as Nantucket Community College and others have done this, their partnership with the employers where their students are likely to go is very, very important. And so as we've rolled out the manufacturing program to Naugatuck Valley and Waterbury, Quinebaug Valley, and Danielson, and Housatonic Community College in Bridgeport, one of the conditions, we said, if you want to get this money, which the legislature has made available to us to open a manufacturing program on your campus, you must have a large manufacturing employers committee to work with to help drive the quality of your program and the ability of your students to connect to employers as students and then get jobs when they graduate.
And then another thing to note too is, even when that partnership perhaps doesn't exist, or somebody who was laid off and they want to start their own business or be an entrepreneur, there's a lot of options available, especially at our community colleges, just to pick up a few courses to learn how to manage a business or do a business accounting, or even just entrepreneurship is something that you can take a course in at the community colleges. Perhaps you could discuss some of those options to people that want to kind of start their own business here in the state.
Right. Well, their community colleges offer and they have a huge amount of part-time enrollment, so students could be saying, I think I need these 2 or 3 courses that can work. Community colleges also offer a huge amount of what we call non-credit courses. So they don't meet all the academic standards for getting 3 college credits or whatever, but they're mostly skill-oriented, and they could be if someone thinks, I need a little bit more understanding on business finance and accounting for a small business, or how to, working with Excel as a spreadsheet tool or something of that sort. So there's a variety of continuing ed programs like that. And our system serves 30,000 students a year in the community college continuing ed program. So it's been around for many years. Some of it's more enrichment. You can come in and do maybe a little foreign language or some culinary cooking, program. But the vast majority of those programs are now in the kind of areas you're talking about. Some of them are even get you into, let's say, like public health licensed job fields. Like if one of my favorite is it's how I understood that what a phlebotomist does. I first heard that term. So what's that? Now, like a lot of people who have to get my blood taken every 6 months because of my cholesterol pills, I realize that's the person who's taking
You've used them before, whether you knew it or not.
Yeah, I see a phlebotomist once every 6 months. Most of the phlebotomists, if you want to get into that field, we have programs that will get you ready to be licensed as a phlebotomist. It's a non-credit program in most of our community colleges.
And then other licensing programs, like myself as a realtor, I know that it's available to go back and get your real estate salesperson license or some various other licenses that are available through the state of Connecticut. You guys offer those kinds of necessary training hours that are required in order to apply for the test for the license. Your community colleges oftentimes offer those kinds of opportunities.
Yeah, one of the real missing opportunities, that I see out there is that we have a lot of these programs, but because community colleges, quite frankly, run on a shoestring, we don't have a lot of resources to make the public as aware of all the opportunities we have. We also don't have the resources to do job placement that might be done in a bigger four-year institution or university. So it's one of the things that we really realize we need to do in partnership with workforce development boards, with other community resources, even community-based nonprofits in some communities and others, is to figure out how to better connect people in Connecticut to the programs that would work for them and how that becomes a pathway to a job when they get out of the program.
And do you see this, and you mentioned it a little bit before, this being an ongoing thing? Because we all hope that the economy hopefully turns around a lot sooner rather than later. Is it something that the community colleges and the state universities are kind of looking towards the future and saying we need to continue these programs even if things start turning around? And even if it declines a little bit, as far as enrollment goes, it's important to make sure that we have this opportunity available in case anything were to happen again in the near future.
Yeah, I think a lot of what we've been doing, while it is very relevant and needed in an economic downturn, it basically is dealing with the new reality of the way the global economy, the Connecticut economy, and the workforce and labor market is in the 21st century. So what used to work even 10, let alone 20, 30, 40 years ago, is not going to get you the kind of career opportunities that you want for you and your family. And that's part of what I think is one of the most important things is we're public higher education institutions. So you as a legislature, your colleagues here and others, and the general public have a right to have an ask of us as public institutions. And it's not just that our tuition is lower because we get a block grant to support it. Part of that ask legitimately is for us to be always thinking about how we make our programs and educational opportunities line up with the success that both students individually and all of us as a state are looking for. And we are in a different world as to what that means now in terms of that success.
And that's one of the great things about our community college system is that flexibility that they can have in some of their coursework or some of their degrees that are available to them through the community colleges. I would say here in the state of Connecticut, at least that's a perception that a lot of people have, and it's great to see that the community colleges are really reacting to the changing world in front of us, especially in this economy and what we're able to do and achieve going into the future. Now, if you were interested in doing any of these programs, where can they find out more information about what's available to them at the community colleges or through the Connecticut State University system?
Well, we have a Board of Regents website, which is ct.edu. That'll get you to any one of our 17 institutions. Though you're probably, if most people probably know the college in their backyard and all have a website with all their courses and programs on it, it's a good way to start. If you don't know where to go, I frequently suggest people of two resources you can go to. One is your local library. Most people will be surprised. I should say most people say most local libraries will give you great help in connecting to things like and understanding maybe where you are in Greater Hartford that you could be looking at as Nuntuck or Manchester or Capital or even Tunxus, etc. The other opportunity to match up to something is you can call 211, which is a toll-free number that besides connecting to any one of an array of public services, we'll be able to help you understand a little bit about, you know, where to find out more about specific programs in any of our colleges or workforce training or anything of the sort.
Excellent. So it's great to hear that the information is widely available to anybody who's interested in trying to advance themselves in their career. So I want to thank Michael for stopping in here today and visiting with us and discussing the Board of Regents and their role in higher education here in the state of Connecticut. So thank you very much, Mike.
You're welcome. Glad to be with you.
Thank you for tuning in to this month's episode of Your State with me, State Representative Christopher Davis. As always, if you have any questions or concerns or are ever in need of assistance, feel free to contact me at 860-240-8700, or you can always reach me at christopher.davis@housegop.ct.gov, as well as visiting my website at www.repdavis.com and sign up for my email newsletter, which will provide you with information on what's happening here at the Capitol as well as in our community. Once again, thanks for tuning in. Hope to see you again next month.